Recording. All right, now we're going. Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome to the next Proptech Genius Show. And today's genius is, oh my God, is it Elizabeth Braman? Is it Braman? We chatted for like minutes and I didn't ask how to pronounce your damn.
You nailed it. You
Braman. All right, we got it. Braman. Yay. Elizabeth Braman is in the house. And I always love talking to another female founder because there's not enough of us. So this is super, super cool. And, you know, I don't know if we have the same journeys, but we're going to find out what your journey is. So why don't you introduce yourself to my audience?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I do want to hear about your journey as well and how you kind of got into uh, doing everything with the association and all that good stuff. So I love when I think of journey, it feels like my origin story as a superhero. I say it's like I feel like this is how I came to be,
Yeah.
because it is so, I hate to say it, it is random over a lifetime. I started my career as an attorney. I was a regulatory attorney, and I was doing technology regulatory work in Washington, D.C.,
Cool.
representing companies and this became important, this piece. I was representing competitors in an incumbent environment, which definitely informs and lends to the current market landscape that I'm in now.
Mhm.
With a lot of the technology providers are
Yeah.
incumbents. They
They
own
don't like each
it.
other. Yeah. You're being nice. They don't like each other.
Yeah. This is not an open architect. I try and explain to clients, I'm like, it's not really open so much as like everywhere else where, although I've heard healthcare is equally as bad, but it's very privately held companies. I mentioned that to someone once and they were like, oh, you're right. Like that'll do it. It's
Yeah.
very few privately held companies. But going back to, I was a tech attorney, had some friends, started a software company that like quintessential startup story, did it over, instead of a garage, it was over a restaurant. It was
Yeah.
food wafting up to this one room office that we all shared, and we bootstrapped it for over 10 years. Had a nice exit, sold it to a public company. I was with the company on the board, but had left to got into commercial real estate. Became a deal junkie, representing clients in financing mostly. So capital
Hmm.
most of my career in real estate,
Yeah.
did CIM and got, just the commercial real estate bug and loved it. Started ReadyCap, which is lending platform. I was one of
You
the
started ReadyCap?
so
Oh my,
random. No, isn't that funny? I sometimes look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of strange. It was
wow.
one of
God,
four
I
executives
didn't
of
realize how much of a genius you were. That's so awesome. I had
I
no
know
idea.
that was a big genius is a big word to live up to. So thank you for
That's awesome. I had no idea. That is super cool because Ready Capital was like, I mean, y'all were blowing and going. Like
yeah,
they're,
they are killing it. And I'm so proud. Shout out if any of my former team, there's a lot of the guys that I hired are still there, which I think is
yeah.
amazing and really speaks to kind of like the culture in the company. And we were backed by Waterfall Asset Management and
Cool.
ended up kind of spinning it off. And they had raised a private REIT and
Hmm.
first merger and became public. And so that one is also, it's on the NASDAQ, um, killing it, doing really, really well.
When did
Um,
you leave Ready Cap?
when they moved operations to Dallas, I want to move to Dallas. So, corporate was in Irvine, and I ended up, I had been commuting from LA, which was not an insignificant commute.
Yeah, I
Got
bet.
got lucky and ended up joining Realty Mogul. So met Jillian Hellman at a conference and
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Jillian is like I'm her biggest fan girl. Like I'm like her groupie. Like she just I read her story one day and I went, good for you. like she like figured it out, and it's like any woman founder, like we all kind of do, like we just kind of, we figure it out. Like because we're not handed the normal things that everybody else is handed, right? And so we have to go, scrap and fight and claw and do everything the non-traditional way, because no one's just going to turn over and hand us a check, you know?
Although I will say, I got to have a first hand look at Jillian through, I mean, she was in her 20s when I started at the company. I went from being the youngest executive to the oldest executive by quit, like overnight, which was
Yeah.
interesting. Um, but I mean, I learned so much.
Mhm.
Masterclass. I've never seen anyone before or after who can
Yeah.
raise capital and is as good at that uh, as she really is
And
a incredible
yeah, what I love
force. And people say that when you meet, and you're like, yeah. And having
yeah,
worked with her for years, I can say yes, absolutely, is a force of nature.
yeah.
Unbelievable.
And she really pioneered, nobody gives her credit for this, but she really pioneered the investment platforms. Like CrowdStreet took a page from her, right? A lot of people did, because it was about, and then all of a sudden, because I was a real estate syndicator in the day, I mean, everybody had to have a portal. Like it came, this whole portal industry really kind of came from Realty Mobile, because people would engage there. She would get a lot of her customers there because it was easy. It was easy to go on, find a deal, look at a deal. They would vet it. She would do all this whole, I remember 2017, 2018, kind of this whole thing around, real estate investing as an alternative asset class, and almost commercializing it. Is kind of what I think she ended up doing at some point, right? It was really cool. It was really
Yeah,
super.
the platform was a very well done
Yeah,
operation.
yeah,
It behind, because it's a broker dealer. So I mean,
right.
like, have all of the securities, the compliance, the KYC, all of that was automated. I mean, it was pretty
Yeah.
impressive under the hood. Quite a bit of technology. And while I was there, I worked with the dev team on the real estate side. Um, Very sharp development team, data scientists who taught me, like, real estate person about data science, and explained a lot of things to me in ways that really impacted me in terms of like, oh wow, oh gosh, okay, the implications of this. And early on, what data science, and this was before AI was like, a
Right.
buzzword and everyone's lips, just what the implications were for being able to use large data sets to do
Mhm.
predictive analytics and to do any kind of market analysis. Um, and we built a tool called Midas, which we were pulling in CoStar axiometrics and RCA data, um, paying a lot of money for data licensing. And even with all this data,
Uh-huh.
having all of our clients sending us our data in different formats from different systems. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
hey, so you've got like all this data,
Uh-huh.
different everything,
Right.
um, and trying to make it usable to generate an NOI. So we were like essentially trying to like pre-screen deals, because we were getting 100 deals a month.
Right.
Some of them good, some of them not good. Like, how do you separate
Right.
ones and try and identify where opportunities are? And that was kind of a great project to work on, and ended up spinning it off and selling it to Hunt, which was
Cool.
a fun learning.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was a great transition for me also, because I've been there for 6 years, and I said, okay, that was a good note to end on, good win.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of definitely informed this company, because I said, why is it so hard? Why is data so hard? I was like a typical real estate person. I'm like, just plug into your database and just make the data. And it's like,
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. You and I could geek out on data all day long. We have the same issues, right? Integration problems. The data's not clean. You have to, like, you're getting it from disparate systems, and when it comes over, it doesn't match, and nothing's tagged the same. And now you're like, oh my God, can like, and so you're solving this problem, but it is a huge problem. And and once it gets solved, the real estate industry changes. Like once they understand, and I think they're starting to understand now, right? Because they're trying to put AI onto their systems, and they're blaming the AI, and it's not the AI's fault. It's your data. Your data sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
garbage in, garbage out. I know, it's shocking.
it's shocking. And so all it's doing, AI is doing, is put a big spotlight on how bad their data is, right? And so it's like, yeah, you can't use AI until you clean up your stuff. And it's not just cleaning it, it's having the processes to keeping it clean. Like a lot of people don't. I think there's going to be this whole revolution in the real estate industry on different roles that come out of this around AI specialists and data specialists and data cleaning people, and then doing a whole continuous improvement around what your operational processes are and how you make sure your data is good, right? I honestly believe that for sure. Yeah.
I mean, and the more you peel back the layers of the onion, the more it's like, oh, this makes total sense. You've got an industry that has no data
Right.
standard
Yeah.
because who wants their clients to go to someone else?
Right.
So
Right.
it's definitely not set up to make it easy. It's a
Mhm.
hugely transactional um,
Yep.
industry. So people are buying and selling properties. There's no real data governance because real estate teams are lean. I mean, you'll see teams that have 1 billion
Mhm.
in AUM and you're like, you're 6 people? Like, how is that possible? Like
Right.
it's a lot of money for 6 people. The real estate ownership groups and teams that are running things, they're small. So
Mhm.
they don't have, bandwidth or room for a super geeky data person. It's also
Right.
done at the property management level where huge turnover of staff. And if you don't
Right.
have like data governance, if you don't have data policies, every manager is inputting stuff. Someone told me the
Yeah.
other day they had 7 managers at a property in like the first 6 months of ownership. I was like, how
Holy.
would you train, manage, maintain? Your data is going to be just garbage because how would you
Yeah.
even get any manager who's there for a day to input, clean,
Yeah.
consistent?
And the funny thing is that they have them doing like tenant ledgers and all sorts of like, we're talking multifamily because that's kind of what I know. I mean, they have them doing the tenant ledgers and the billing and all this other stuff locally at the properties, right? A lot of people do this. Not, I think that it's changing to do more centralized stuff, and having the systems actually log in the late fees, and but all the other, like, lease violations, all that all of that happens at the property. So imagine you're turning over so many managers, just the loss in revenue alone, much less the loss, the tenant satisfaction that drops and everything else because they associate the property with the manager. And so you're just
Oh,
now,
totally.
ah, yeah, for sure.
That's actually a predictive model that I'm excited to do is what's
Yeah.
your cost of manager turn?
Yeah.
Because to train to lost revenue from leases, from online reviews, bad sentiment analysis, like what is the quantification, the cost? Because my guess is that most people would probably choose to pay current managers on staff more if they knew they were underpaying them because there's
Yeah.
not a lot of transparency into, you know, how are you paying your managers relative to what they're getting, others are getting paid in the market.
Yeah.
So
Can you
everyone,
imagine you have somebody is a 200 unit apartment complex. It's a $25 million business, and you're paying that person 60
yeah,
grand.
yes. So
Like
to run
they're
P&L, that's
running a
like faster.
$5 million business for you, and that's all you feel like you should pay them? Really? Like, yeah,
But it's because the margins are thin and you're like, okay, but like where can you make it up? Like let's get to I talk to a lot of owners and common consensus is like, let's give better incentives,
mhm,
more NOI based
yeah,
sorry, to really get management groups more involved in the upside so that they are thinking about cost reduction, about
yeah,
improving the metrics of the property instead of just trying to increase rents, which is obviously fairly problematic right now.
yeah.
for obvious
You
reasons.
know, it would be just how you change to pay them. A lot of property management agreements are based off of income. So it's all they care about. So you turn it and you base it off of the NOI. So now they got to watch the expenses. Now they got to, but a lot of it, all the property managers hate my guts. I just made that statement, but it's, but it's true. Like you have to, especially in this environment, but I think any environment going forward, if you can focus on the NOI, so you understand all of your expenses and build in, how do we build in technology to optimize that expense ratio, then you should get bonuses. Like if your NOI is at a certain, that's how you should build it in. It's like, okay, we might get paid on revenue because we know we got to budget our stuff, but if we can get the NOI to 50% or less, that would be a miracle. But I think it's possible. And in the multifamily with technology, I just don't think anybody's adopting it. If you can get because right now in class B, class C, it's 65%, 70, it's something horrible. Like when I was an owner operator, like 2010, like I was an owner operator, we were running our stuff. If I was over 45% on my I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, what the hell is going on? Why is it so expensive? What are we not catching? Right. And then it just went, and now everybody was underwriting. No joke, as late as 2021, 2022, everybody was underwriting to 50% expenses. It's now 70%. Nobody can make their mortgages because the margins have gone so low just from insurance and repair, all this inflationary stuff. It's averaging 65, 70%. Now, class A might be at 40 or 45%, but they used to be in the 20s, right? So everybody's kind of doubled and decreased their margins. It's so interesting. But, if the property management companies could say, okay, if we can increase your NOI, we should get a cut of that, right? Why not, right? So,
Why not? I mean, look, if you're giving away 10% of a 20% bump, you're still
yeah,
well
exactly.
ahead.
Well
Why
ahead.
why wouldn't you? I think it's about having alignment of incentives and a
Yeah.
price and making sure that you're being thoughtful about this is my New Year's resolution is 2025 is the year of ROI.
Uh-huh.
So we work with Proptech companies as well
Yeah.
to help them get access to their client data. And
Yep.
we're hearing a lot from the Proptech companies is they're getting kind of pushed, rightfully so, to show ROI
Mm-hmm.
from the owners and managers. And
Right.
so partnering and helping them to, which is something our system built a financial model that basically takes all of the different GL categories and buckets them into about 100. So your normal, CoStar
Yeah. Way too many. Yeah.
is like 8, which is helpful. Not so much, but if you want to know what your payroll benchmarking should be, you want to know it by,
Oh,
manager, leasing agent,
yeah.
all of it together. It's good to know, but a little more granular than 8 and a little less granular than, we've seen GL category or GL at some management companies, they have 1,000. Most average about 300. Uh,
Yeah.
I say that, like, did we need a line item for lunch with Bob? I don't know. That seemed a little granular, but some manager on site was,
Yeah.
Howard at some point and didn't
Yeah.
or just threw it into a GL category of something that was so specific. But having a good list of financial categories to benchmark
Mm-hmm.
does let you do more comparative analysis and does let you see, okay, where am I tracking to market? Where are there, how do I surface opportunities? Is this um, implementation of a technology solution moving the needle?
Interesting.
Um, and how do you compare the properties where you have rolled it out to the properties you haven't?
Right.
What does that look like adding to the bottom line on a capitalized basis? So if I'm saving, $100,000 at a
Mhm.
property at a 5.5 cap. What is,
Right.
how much value have I added this year? And kind of being more transparent with clients as to the value that you're bringing.
That's great. I mean, that was kind of one of the things. So part of the council, we have this whole university initiative, and we got 12 to 14 universities that are signing on to be strategic partners. And one of the things we want to do is have these research, like co-sponsored research initiatives on, like, if we can get a professor that can do research around blah, right? Whatever it might be. So one of them I wanted to do was kind of in that vein, which is, okay, how much or what is it on a tech stack that drives financial performance on a property? What is it? What do we need at a minimum? What would create alpha? What do we need from so that the real estate owners can understand we need at least these things. You need to have connectivity. You need to have smart building. You need to have, we're into like general categories of stuff, right? And so I think that for 2025, those are one of the things I'm going to ask from on there. But you already have some of that data. That's super cool. That's great. It'd be
Tons of the data.
yeah.
I just did a project actually with some students on doing our taking our last 24 months and building a predictive model as to what your budget should be. Kind of take
Awesome. Yeah.
It's budget season is just the worst.
Oh,
Not good.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we help with, what does the next 12 months
Right.
look like, and how is it
Yeah.
trending forward,
Right.
a way of looking at it. But with good data, there's like, a ton of different applications and use cases. I love that idea of like, what's driving the
Yeah.
most change, because
Right.
some stuff could be, for the ESG stuff, it could just be a requirement for compliance
Right.
purposes, and it may not drive immediate returns as much as it's just you have no choice in the matter that you're
Yeah.
in a market that
Exactly.
says doing this. So
Yeah. Or I mean, I think eventually, I mean, but there's a lot of guessing, right? I mean, to your point, the people are guessing. And so it's like, how can we do research and projects around, okay, this is really what moves the needle. And let's focus on that, right? And then let's focus on and the data doesn't lie. Usually if you do a pretty good job of managing what the data looks like. And then it can point us in the right directions on certain things. But I would, so on our side, we're capturing like a ton of building data that's not captured today, right? So we're aggregating a lot of like finishes and cataloging. It's really kind of simple. When I tell people like this, I want to be the Google of buildings. But basically, we want to know everything of anything, where it is, what's its condition of anything that's on a building, right? Or anything that feeds into that building that services that building, right? And so that's not being captured today. And I know when I started this, I was like, okay, it's just like a huge problem. And this is going to be like, I'm not starting like with something simple. No, I had to go take on this big, huge mountain of a problem. And then that's what I'm going to do. That's what Amy's going to do. She's not going to take something easy and let's sell you an app. Oh, no. I got to go like solve the real estate problems from how we capture all of the building data on, and then aggregate it. And, that's what I'm doing. It's like,
but think about it, timing wise, you couldn't have done it any better.
yeah.
Like living here now, I feel so fortunate because I'm like, I don't have a crystal ball. I didn't realize however many
Yeah.
years ago we started the company a couple years ago, and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
knowing that there would be this kind of transformative period of time with AI going from being something that, data geeks knew about and some people read about, but wasn't
Right.
everyday conversation, to
Right.
something like literally you cannot get away from it.
Right.
And as an industry, we haven't quite caught up with that, right?
No.
Like,
Yeah. But it's going to be super exciting to see what happens in the next 5 years. And I think, in the real estate industry, the data is gold. Like if you have access to the data, you can make data simple for people, and they can. I mean, that you and I are going to do really well because we're data people, right? Like,
because
like,
I hear that a lot. Data is gold, and I'm like, um, raw the
yeah,
and
the raw
how do you
data.
Yeah, you kind of have to make sure that it's good data. Bad
Yeah,
data, not so golden,
yeah,
not so
yeah,
great. Not
yeah.
sure that garbage data is
Yeah.
helpful.
But we're doing that. We're selling the picks and the shovels for the data to make sure that, that in the gold rush, that's who made the money. We're selling the picks and the shovels to make sure that their data is really what's
Usable.
happening, basically. Like
I hate that. That's kind of like one of our tag words. They're like, we're making data usable. And it's like, that sounds like simple. And it sounds like, why would I need any help with that? I always use Excel because real estate people can really get it. Like, try
gosh.
taking 5 Excel documents from 5 different people and trying to just merge them. Like, yeah, technically you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Technically, you
Okay.
but you know that even if you copy paste all the rows, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Um, and even worse than that, it's not just Excel, it's that we're taking PDF, PowerPoint, and
Yep.
Word. We're
Yep.
merging those three things together. And anyone who even has any computer skills knows you can't open a PDF in Excel, not a thing. So there's some work that needs to be done before
Yeah.
you have one clean Excel document with all these beautiful rows that are all clean and, filter by get
Yeah.
right answers when you do a pivot table. So that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
if you want a good pivot, you got some
Yeah.
work.
I know. And the integration side, I mean, we're fighting like a lot of the property management systems themselves who don't want to let anybody play ball with their data. And I mean, this is in the multifamily industry for sure. There's the whole integration piece. They're all like, who owns the data? Those are the big questions that are happening right now. And we need somebody like, I don't know, UDR or our Camden or somebody to tell Yardi, that's my data and you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. I'm
Yeah.
like, how is it possible
Yeah.
that owners are not looking around being like, excuse me, it's your data?
Yeah.
Like, definitely not my data. Your
Yeah.
data is your data.
Yeah.
Why? Because you own the property. If you own the property,
That's
that's
right.
your data. The property management company is acting as your agent.
Yeah,
The software
exactly.
company is acting as a service provider to your
Yeah,
agent.
agent. So you've owned the data. Yeah, Bob Faith, great star. I know you watched the show. So Bob, I need you to call Yardi and tell them to integrate with little Proptech startups like us because it's just hindering the industry. Just saying, Bob. I'm sure he does.
Off of that. They do. They make good money off of it. And I am a capitalist, so I have no problem with them making good money off of it. I do think that if an owner
Mhm.
wants access to their data,
Yeah,
that they put into a system that
yeah,
needs to be something that they can easily get. And if
yeah,
they need their data, that's all their choice. That
yeah.
is
Yeah. And so, in the data center industry, if the if multifamily were to take a page, data center industry, oh, you can't play ball. They own the data. Like they're like, no, basically. And they're not only that, there's so much privacy around it. They're like, not only this is our data. If you want to play ball with us, this is our data. Not only, and then they're also like the cybersecurity is another thing a lot of people have to understand, or just around a data center itself. If you're going to play in that data center industry, you have to be so tight on your cybersecurity. And I think it would be really interesting as the other real estate asset classes learn that lesson and going across, because I'm sure that's an issue for y'all too. Like you're looking at, I mean, AI for all its good things, it also can be used from a cybersecurity perspective for bad actors as well. And so that would be kind of an
and it's
interesting.
PII. I mean, this is like not in
Yeah.
this is sensitive data that the industry has been a little kind of lackadaisical about. And I think that it's definitely we're seeing the transition
Mm-hmm.
from kind of the wild, wild west to
Yep.
a lot more. And I'm thrilled about it. We early on got our SOC 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy to talk to management companies about our security practices and
Right.
how treat their data, from the
Right.
perspective of they've got liability.
Mm-hmm.
you know, I want them to take it seriously. We take it seriously.
Right.
Um, let's
Yeah.
make sure that there's not ever an incident of being lackadaisical with a tenant's data. Um, we don't want and we don't get, you know, social security numbers and things like that. It's more, you know, name and address.
Mhm.
We may or may not get,
Right.
depending if the client wants it. If they want it, they have the right to have it, but we have to be super careful with storing it. We don't use
Right.
it, but storing it is
Yeah,
important.
I think there's going to be more and more data privacy laws that get passed, and that I mean, in Europe, it's the GDPR, and you have to comply in Europe, and then each country has their own different things. So data privacy is going to be huge, for you and I are data founders, but and then it's how to. I mean, you can't we're I don't want to, as we go forward in the industry, you want to provide good standards and good things, but I understand from a cybersecurity, they're going to want to point fingers at us, and it's really not us. Most cybersecurity issues are people. They get phished, or they give up their passwords, or with AI, it's so sophisticated now. I mean, it's
Oh,
insane the way people can get phished, and it's crazy.
yeah.
I don't know on the Amazon was saying they used to get like 100,000 attacks a day, and with AI, it's now gone up to 750,000 a day.
Oh, yeah. That's
Attacks. Like they're having, and so it's just a volume problem that the systems can't handle the number of things that are happening at once. So everybody's having to. If the real estate companies who are listening to this need to understand cybersecurity is a huge issue, you're going to have more and more data that you're going to want to collect and maintain. And if you're not having a good cybersecurity policy, you're shooting yourself in the foot, in the
uh,
face.
I think that, and I hate saying this, I have thought for a while there would have to be a reckoning. There would have to be an
Yeah.
event
Yeah.
or some issue that
Right.
causes people to, because it's like insurance. Like no
Right.
one goes and gets insurance for things that don't happen. So no one's thinking about cybersecurity
Hmm.
policy and things until someone says to them, you know, hey, you just lost $1 million because
Yeah.
you got breached and you're getting sued and how do we
Exactly.
do it? So
That's,
without
yeah.
any
uh,
consequences.
yeah, for sure. In Canada, they had passed a law that any building over a certain amount of square feet or whatever has to have cybersecurity insurance, and which is super interesting. Which opens up another can of worms on them understanding, and the same concept that you and I are solving is like they don't even know what they have. Like they don't know what's existing in their buildings for them to even understand how do I go insure it. So it's
Insure it. What are they going to insure? Yeah, no, it's interesting. We had to get cyber security insurance. I was very fortunate that my
uh-huh.
co has a background in data security and thought about it early on, which
Yeah.
was good for us because it's hard to retroactively go back and like put
Yes.
policies in place because then you've also got change management. And if there's one thing I've seen that real estate companies struggle with is it's a the management companies are huge and they're not all in the same place, and getting that ship to turn,
Mhm.
it's a slow moving uh, vessel. It's not like you can just on a dime, like, oh, everyone in the entire company now understands, knows, and implements our data security policies with perfect precision. They're amazing. Happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, getting this stuff it's a process. It's time consuming and it's when I was a regulatory attorney, I always was like, God, it's like the worst job because no one appreciates you because they're spending money on you
Right.
until something goes wrong, and then they hate you because you've somehow not managed to divert them from some risk
Yeah.
that they fought you kicking and screaming from protecting them from. And
Yeah.
that's, a lot of things that are preventative. It's like no one wants to do preventative stuff. It's
No, I know. I know. I don't know why. It just saves you so much heartache, but it just feels like you're, getting them, pulling them, kicking and screaming to go, will you please do this? I'm trying to help you. you know? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the
No, crazy. So where do you see your company going in the next couple of years, you think?
well, I do think that there has been a regime of data providers that have been, I won't name names, but it kind of it's crazy to me that there still is a lot of companies that call on brokers to get data. Like that
Mhm.
doesn't seem like, you know,
Yeah.
best practices.
Right.
But that's why it's such a black box. Like people don't have access to information.
Hmm.
So, it's there's public data and
Hmm.
there's proprietary data, and
Right.
that's now become a big conversation. Um, Being able to use both together,
Hmm.
to me, I'm like, let's start from there. I want to be able to use my data alongside public data sources. I think
Right.
that would be awesome.
Right.
I think that's, obviously that's the direction that we want to go in. A lot of people want to go in, but I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit
Right.
with these technologies and the application once you get past all this kind of yucky nonsense of data security and
Hmm.
compliance, making sure that you're protecting things. The implications and the applications are super exciting. And there's so much low hanging fruit. There's so many applications that are just like, huh, that seems like something we should be doing.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Right.
just
No. Yeah.
changing the paradigm.
Yeah, for sure. When I talk to the guys over at Cherry, LD and Kevin and people, it's interesting. They're like, yeah, we didn't even think a customer would want to know this, but we have it. We just didn't realize, so once you start collecting the data, it's the kind of data leads you where you need to go, right? I mean, you can, oh, I can do this with it, and I can do that with it. And all you just got to do is start collecting it, right? And then it's pretty interesting for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's, I think we have a lot of assumptions that are anecdotal.
Right.
We had a deal, however many years ago, and it did this and did that. And so we've kind of now that's the reality and the truth for us. And it's like when I was lending, it was absolutely like I had a deal go bad. And so now we never do this. And it's like, what? You know, we
Yeah.
work with big absolutes. Every market is different. Every asset class is different.
Right.
Time makes things different. The market
Right.
today versus 10 years ago is different. Um, User preferences are different. So
Yeah.
have these data sets that can actually take in third-party data sets like yours that are like totally unique and see what's the impact of this totally random thing on
Hmm.
this thing that I do, which
Right.
today is impactful and tomorrow isn't. With,
Hmm.
point being, there's a lot that we have yet to learn. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that the technologies are making that ability to do that much easier. And
Yeah.
that I think is, when I look at like, what are we going to see in the next however many years? It's like, oh, I have no idea. It's,
I know. Super fun. It's like it's gonna be so much fun. Have you engaged with the lending community yet or the insurance community yet? I just see that that's the huge,
yeah,
push.
we have definitely started conversations with some lenders because being able to standardize income statements is, and
Huge.
the data sets that we're generating
Hmm.
um, for market specific benchmarking. I know that was
Hmm.
an issue we had was like, gosh, we would do deals in Texas and we couldn't figure out like, what's the insurance, right? Because
Yeah.
it was so different from market to market and place to
Right.
place. If they were in a floodplain and da 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 da. So having those data sets, we are back testing a lot of them. And yes, the biggest, I think, consumers of our data will be real estate companies, yes, but also
Yeah.
insurance companies,
Hmm.
lenders,
Right.
uh, portfolio acquirers,
Bro-
because
Real estate brokers. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Those big four, like the real estate brokers, the owners, and the lenders and insurance companies. Yeah. I see them same for us too. Yeah. Interesting. For sure. Yeah, and the insurance companies are always, they've always been super interesting for me. And I find I'm like, I know you want this data. Like, I know you want this data, but trying to find the person at the insurance company, they're like ninjas. I don't know how you find them. It's really super interesting. It's like, why don't you like reach out to these Proptech solutions? We have the data that you're wanting, right? So you can underwrite better, or you can, forecast better, or you can, solve this, because we have an insurance crisis, especially on the property and casualty side. On the real estate side, we have a real estate insurance crisis. So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. It's interesting.
orders. We can tell you, you want to do predictive modeling around repairs and maintenance and HVAC useful life. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also think like big retailers, like for us, because we work, because we do have resident kind of, migration and
Hmm.
like preferences, like
Right.
aggregate level type of insights. That I
Mhm.
think also something I'm like, well, Walmart wants to know what renters are doing. It's, a third of the entire country. They
Right.
could tailor a lot, and like, big multifamily developers, who is their consumer? I think
Yeah.
having a much better picture of the resident and their housing experience and understanding them, because that consumer's been a total black box, I think, for a very long time, because there hasn't been that much data on them. It's not.
No, they do these tenant preference, like, so NMHC partners with, can't remember, and they do that preference survey every couple of years, and they were only doing it every 2 years. And I'm like, that is not, you need to do this once a quarter. It's changing so damn fast. Or maybe at least every year you need to do it, because the next renter is, it's millennials, and it's Gen Z, and it's like, and good luck getting them to answer a survey. I know I had two of my kids are in that bucket, and they're not answering surveys. So how are you going to get that data, right? And so it's super interesting. It's interesting times for sure. But yeah, I think the data collection, like back to data picks and shovels, being able to capture data, maintain data, I think that's where, and then aggregating it and giving useful insights. I think that's where a lot of people, there's a good opportunity for sure. Right. Yeah.
It is a good time to be a data company.
Platform.
Um, I, I I think we're at the
Yeah.
early stage of people having general awareness of the need, and I think
Mhm.
that's going to grow. If I was giving a 12-24 month prediction, it would be that awareness that
Mhm.
opportunities are being missed,
Mhm.
or that applications are having less effectiveness because
Mhm.
the issues with data, and hopefully that'll, push people to have a little more thoughtfulness around, the need for it, which is kind of the precursor to doing all this cool stuff.
Yeah. No, I think over the next 5 to 10, it's gonna be really cool where our companies go, because it's gonna be super interesting the next 5 to 10 years. And then what evolves out of post that, right? And the next AI thing, right? And I love people who say, oh yeah, AI has reached its capacity. Who said that? Salesforce guy. AI has reached its capacity, and the next thing we're going to do is these assistants, or whatever it is, and I can't remember. I was like, dude, we don't even know what AI can do yet. Like, we're in like the first part of the first inning with
Yeah,
AI,
yeah.
and And I see some of the things, so I don't know, this is going to scare people, but somebody tried to turn Chat GPT off, and it realized somebody was trying to turn it off, so it went around trying to save itself, and they couldn't turn it off. Like, it was interesting how, and then there was another thing where Gemini was giving this weirdo answer, like somebody was like searching up aging, and how do you solve the aging part, and they were trying to do a research paper around aging. No, Gemini responded, humans just need to die. I don't know, you just die now. Just like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm like going, okay, all right, talk about hallucinations, but I don't think we really know what AI is going to do if it's starting to do some of that. I mean, so that can be scary while
Yeah.
but we have our capacity to go, okay, all right, like, we don't have to listen to the computer and what the computer's telling us, but it can be super useful. It's just a tool. Let's see how we use it really well. I'm not the one person saying it's all great or all bad. I think it's a tool, right? It's just like something else we use. And the internet was bad in 1995 too. All the children were going to, like, be consumed by the internet, and no, it just made life easier, right? So
Easier. Yeah. And it got a lot better.
it
The
did.
dial-up days of Prodigy and
Yeah,
AOL,
yeah.
things got a little better. But yeah, no, I did read somewhere about someone using OpenAI and managing to get it to share some of its training sets. And I think that is the piece that scares me a little bit, is how easy they are to hack. And
Mhm.
that is not a good thing.
Yeah.
That shows, maybe shows how far they haven't come. But there is some interesting things we need to know that we're training. Like, this is a
Yeah.
process,
Right.
and with business rules, and that's where the intersection of being a human being who has 20 or however many years of experience is not going to get replaced. It's like, okay, let's just take the information that we have and, expand upon it, make it more efficient, make it faster, better.
Yeah, exactly. And then, make sure our data, we have good data processes, right? So that we make sure that whatever the AI tool is telling us or providing us, or what our insight it's giving us, it's actually good, right? But yeah, I venture we'll have an AI that manages the AI, you know.
Clearly.
They said there's an AI tool for this, it's doing this and it's focused on this, and we'll have an AI thing that'll go, hey, AI, you missed this, right? And then it'd be interesting to see how we end up using it. But I'm one always loves progress. I mean, that's just kind of how my brain works, and I love progress, and so I'm okay with it, right? And then we always need the people that are, you need someone who's like, oh, I'll do everything new. And then the person was like, hey, let's be a little discerning over here. You need both people, and you need both camps to make sure that it's a good, effective.
Measured approach to technology that could be what do they say, like a world-ending event,
Yeah,
let's not go there.
it's not going there. It's not going there. But I think there's enough on both sides that I think we can proceed with caution, and we're building the plane as we're flying it with AI. We're still trying to figure out, you know,
Absolutely.
how best to use it and how best that help. But I think it's not going away. So, and I'm okay with that, right? I mean, one cool thing that I can't wait for it to happen, and when I do, is I just want my 81-year-old dad to be able to talk to a computer to get him what he needs, right? And I think that's the coolest thing, is this whole generation that doesn't know how to use a computer but can speak. If they can say, hey, can you open up my email and do this? And he doesn't have to learn any of that. I think that brings that whole generation back to us, right? And I think that's super cool what AI can do.
Oh,
And I'm
and
showing him how to use it. I'm like, talk to your phone, tell it to do this. And then he goes, oh, that is so cool. And so he now can engage again, right? Where they couldn't before. I think that's really cool, honestly.
yeah. Although, tell your parents, if anyone here has
Yeah.
listening, has parents who are seniors, I've been warning my parents, if you get a phone call and it sounds like it's from me, or a
Uh,
FaceTime
true.
and it's me, um, and I'm in a prison in,
And
third
you got
world country, please, do not send money.
to not send money. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they have to be warned about it, but yeah, no, 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 for sure. That's one of the cybersecurity things. It's really kind of interesting. Someone told me about was they were on a Zoom call, and it was a CFO from one side, a CEO, and a CFO from the other side, and they're talking to the CFO and they're doing business, and they're asking this CFO, send us money here, here's the wiring address and whatever. And this CEO and CFO were AI actors, and he had no idea. And so before this guy, the real guy, sent the wire, they had a business process that said, oh, we have to validate because it's over so much money. We have to validate, we have to call and send an email and have to have 3 validations. Because they did that, they found out that these guys were AI actors, which is super sick, crazy. But yeah.
It's horrifying. I mean, it
Yeah.
used to just be you'd get email spoof and it
Yeah.
would, say send wire.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. But now it's on a Zoom call. I mean, holy buckets, right? And so I think over time the AI just starts to you are going to have an AI police that detects like fraud or whatever. I mean, there's going to be ways to use it for
So
good.
yeah, you hope
Yeah,
it gets better
I
detected, because the
I
deep fake stuff is gonna get
yeah,
creepier and creepier because it's proliferated so quickly.
yeah,
Uh, the level of sophistication, and obviously with these types of technologies, fraud is the first thing to kind of
yeah. If
get
any
in.
do anything besides, just getting a job and making money or starting a business and making money, if I can just, steal from people, I just like that's my one thing. It's like get a
Huge
job.
thing in multi right now, fraud for resident. I mean, there's tons of companies that are popping up that are doing fraud detection because it is such an
Yeah,
issue with people applying, and these whole like networks of people that are going and applying over here and applying over
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Where do they make their money on it? I'm not, I haven't figured out yet
Yeah,
how
I think
that.
it's you're getting the people who normally couldn't find a house, and they're paying to get someone to use fraud in order for them to get in, so they don't have or they'll do it, and it's an interesting business model because the people that do get it would go away if there was some way for, and that's what HUD was for, is with people who got evicted, but now they've got jobs, now they can find a place to live. It's interesting, an interesting industry for sure, but it's really just it's preying on the vulnerable is what it's doing. It's preying on the vulnerable, which sucks. Which
That
sucks.
is.
Yeah,
Well, we don't.
imagine those immigrants. I mean, I was a multifamily owner manager. You had immigrants who like I'm like I don't know how to any way to verify you. I don't know if you're a terrorist. I don't know who you are or where you come from. And you want to live here and you look like a nice person, but I have no way to. So how do I get you into an apartment and not violate all the local oil laws and ordinances and all these other things? Because I have to know my customer. And so it's this whole thing. And so I think people prey on that because we have this huge immigration thing, and so then then they're like, they have a place to live. I had interesting ways to do that on the multifamily side. So the owner of a business paid the rent for the person. So because they were there, so we had a corporate rental just so they could have one of their employees live there because I didn't have any way to verify them. And I had to we had to come up with really creative ways to get these folks in there. And it
Yeah,
usually
no,
found a person that was a US citizen that could do it, but that person wasn't even living in the place. And it was all these 5 other people that didn't have, so it causes other issues, right? And so it's interesting for sure.
yeah. Oh, that's wild.
It is.
But for
It
sure,
is.
I mean, housing is an issue right
Yeah,
now, all
for sure.
across the board. It's not just Class A properties, all.
Yeah. No, it's everywhere. I mean, there's shortages and then you're having to deal with some of that. But yeah, no, I find it interesting. Well, this has been such a fun conversation. We should just
I know we keep going and keep going, but I really appreciate your time, and it was so good
yeah,
to meet you. And
yeah, sure, for sure. Well, if somebody would like to get a hold of you, how could they do that? I'll pretend to be a podcaster.
yes. Um, Liz@revolutionre.com is a good way to reach out. Also LinkedIn, Elizabeth Braman, on LinkedIn fairly often, so you can message me there as well. But love talking about all things data and technology and real estate, and happy to be a resource and just have a conversation if there are folks out there who want to learn more about how we can implement new technologies into their tech stack, or start supercharging their AI plans and policies for the future.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great.